Welcome to Live Into Your Best Life, a show where people learn how to go from where they are to where they'd like to be in any area of life. If you're looking for a new job, wanting to improve your relationships, or even reclaim your health, Paulie Skaja will share with you a simple formula that can take you on a journey to begin to live into your best life in all areas of life. Now sit back and begin your journey.
Hi there, I'm Paulie Skaja, and welcome to Live Into Your Best Life. Today I have Magic Brad with me. Brad, thank you so much for joining. And I'm going to do a little introduction of you, and then I'm going to share my version like I always do. So, Magic Brad is part of America's hot new generation of close-up illusionists and comedy magicians. He acquired his street smarts the old-fashioned way through first-hand experience, solving problems that stop others cold, turning small into big and big into bigger. His credits include an impressive and varied list of trade shows, sales meetings, expos, and product promotions. Some of his clients include Marriott Hotels, SEMA Labs, Schulte Associates, Loss Prevention Services, Sales by Phone, Direct Service Transport, Rapid Graphics, Pella Windows, and many more. Magic Brad is part of a forward-thinking new wave of sales professionals. He's creative, inventive, and savvy, and he fully intends to continue his winning streak and help his clients thrive in the challenging new business environments of tomorrow. So, welcome, Brad. Thank you for being here. So I met you, 2011. We were networking, Main Street Chamber.
Sure, I remember
that. That's where I met you and your bride, Monica. And that was a lot of fun to kind of get to know people in different ways back then. And we have stayed in each other's lives, which I think is really pretty cool, especially in this day and age of technology and all the things that have happened in the last decade. And so I really appreciate you taking time today to let's talk about kind of you have street smarts, you use magic to make things happen. And I've been to one of your magic shows and really fun stuff. So just let folks know kind of, how did you fall into or decide to go down the magic path? And how did you get to where you are? And how do you use this to help sales? And anything you want to share?
I will. I'll give you my little history, if you will. And it's more than being a magician. I started doing magic when I was a little kid. A guy made a quarter disappear and pulled it out of my ear when I was like 4 years old. And it kind of intrigued me that something that was there then wasn't and then was back again, and it was the magic just kind of got me. But over the years I kind of do magic MAGIC and MAJIK, a little bit of that kind of woo-woo stuff too. But the magic got me. I was doing it as a hobby, and then it evolved into, through grade school into high school. I was actually making money doing shows at churches and hospitals. And then when I graduated high school, barely in 1975, people said, well, you should get a job. And I thought, okay. So I had an opportunity to work for the Anoka County Parks and Recreation Department, mowing lawns and emptying garbage and taking care of the parks. Mm-hmm. And I was doing that, and I had my little green shirt with my name on it. And then about 4 years later, they said, the program is over, so we have to let you go. And I thought, where's my gold watch? I thought I had a job here. So I learned early that jobs are temporary. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, I need to learn a trade. So I went and learned how to do design drafting. Mm-hmm. I knew I didn't want to have a job, so I decided to go into the contract field. So I had, different projects. Yeah. It gave me more flexibility. And I liked that because it was kind of like doing magic gigs where you're working with agents and they get you shows. These contract houses were giving me jobs. Mm-hmm. But then I didn't like punching that clock and having to be someplace at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock and then go take a half-hour lunch and 15-minute breaks. I didn't like that. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to be a full-time magician. And I decided to do that. And that was in like the late 80s. I went to a trade show, and there was this woman there. Her name is Patty Sachs Meshbesher. You may remember the name Meshbesher.
Meshbesher, yep.
He married to the Ron Meshbesher. But Patty was Party Patty. She did this trade show for party planners, more party planners, not so much event planners. Mm-hmm. And there's a difference.
Yes.
And I saw that and I thought, this is really cool. I could use something like this to attract clients. Mm-hmm. So I asked her if I could take it over, and she said, go ahead. I was just doing it for the PR. So I took it over, and in the 90s, 1990, I started the Great Minnesota Event Show. Because I realized I could do this trade show, and this was a resource place for all the event planners that do corporate events, association conventions, wedding planners, fairs, festivals, city celebrations, all the nonprofit sector and the private parties and all that event planner stuff. Mm-hmm. They came to this trade show, and they filled out a little piece of paper, and it said, my name's Tammy. I'm from 3M Corporation. We're doing a company picnic for 3,000 people at Tartan Park with a budget of $15,000. And we want a pig roaster and a tent and a bouncy thing for the kids and a face painter and a magician. I go, there's my lead. Mm-hmm. Start mailing out postcards. I'm a big advocate of postcards. I do postcards out. Here's a real estate postcard.
Nice.
I mail out postcards until they would call me up and go, hey, Brad, you available for a company picnic? And I go, sure. So it was really easy having that list of, there were a couple thousand event planners every year would come through to this trade show. And they would tell me exactly how much money they had and when they were going to spend it. So that was my lead generation to do magic gigs.
Yep.
But the thing started making, the event started making money. So I was making good money with producing the event and getting all these leads. And then time passed in from 1990 to 1998. That's about when the internet was kind of taking hold.
Yep.
And I felt a change where people no longer needed to resource in person. They could access the internet and find stuff on the internet.
Yep.
And I panicked a little bit, and I brought on a couple of business partners. And you've got kids, you know how the kids do. Well, mom said I could. Well, dad said I could. And they play that thing.
Yep.
One of my partners was doing this to us, like a three-legged stool kind of thing. He embezzled a little bit of money and started saying stuff to my other partner about me and saying stuff to me about her. And so it all collapsed. And it was sad because it was kind of my baby. I created it from the beginning. And it all collapsed, and I just had to file bankruptcy. I ran away to California with a sleeping bag and did nothing. I was kind of homeless for a couple of years. I said, F this business stuff. I'm sick and tired of it. I don't like it. So I quit that, and then I came back from California, and I didn't want to do any events anymore. I was just doing online stuff with my laptop, and my friend Rick called me up. He goes, do you remember the commercials? Hi, we're the Expo guys inviting you to the Healthy Life Expo at the Minneapolis Convention Center.
Yep.
That was me and Rick.
Cool.
In 2004, he started calling me, go, Brad, let's do trade shows together. And I said, Rick, I don't want to do any events. I just want to sit at Calhoun Square and drink coffee with my laptop and look at girls. I don't want to work. But Rick was very persistent, and he kept calling me and calling me and calling me and said, let's do trade shows together. And finally, we started a company, and we started doing these Healthy Life Expos and these home improvement expos. And it went along. And the way that I operate sometimes, like I created that event to have the event planners come to me rather than me chasing and cold calling and networking and all that stuff, they came to me. So when I started the expo business with Rick, we wanted to do home shows. So what I did is I researched the 5 areas in the city that had the most building permits pulled. And that was Shakopee, which was the fastest growing city in the country back then. It was Brooklyn Park, Maple Grove, Lakeville, and I think it was Maplewood.
Mm-hmm. So at that time, those were the outer rings or
right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All out there, and that's where the building permits were. So the people that were coming to the show had projects.
Yep.
So our exhibitors, the windows, siding, doors, and all that stuff, they were getting good business, and the business was taking off. But Rick and I, we got along, but we didn't get along.
Mm.
He wanted a job. I wanted a company if I could step out over the weekend or go on vacation. He wanted to work, and he's a hard worker. So the business was going good, and we were doing about 12 shows a year. And I came home from a networking event. It might have been the networking event I met you at. I had a handful of business cards, and I was at our home in Golden Valley looking out the window.
Yep.
And it felt like someone did this to me. And I turned around. I couldn't see anyone. I thought, what the hell was that? And I look on the ground, and the cards were on the ground. I thought, what? So I run upstairs, and I go, Monica, something really weird just happened. She goes, why are you talking funny? You're scaring me. And I was going, I don't know. My hand's kind of weird. I'm not sure what it is. And I was a small stroke. It was called a mini stroke. So that kind of was a shot over the bow for me. So I went into my office with Rick, and I said, Rick, I'm resigning. He goes, what? I said, I don't want to die in this office. I really value my time freedom.
Yeah.
So I resigned. And that's when we moved to Asheville, North Carolina, and I was going through that healing and getting rid of that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back. We came back to Minneapolis, and we had that apartment over in Minnetonka, over by Learning Strategies in Ridgedale there. And I was doing digital marketing stuff. I'd learned more about that, and I didn't want to do this event stuff. I was wounded again with the event stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I started getting lonely sitting on the couch all by myself. So I wanted to start doing events again. So I rekindled the events. And then we had decided to move out of the apartment, and we moved over here back in Fridley, where I'm from originally.
Full circle.
56 years in that same house. Then I met Monica, and we got married and moved to Golden Valley. But now I'm full circle back here. Yeah. And I found a different business partner when I was over in Minnetonka. And we were going to start doing these expo things. We had just 4 different events we were going to do. So we started doing it. We started doing one, and we got getting with the second one. And then all of a sudden this thing happened. I think you might remember it. It was called
pandemic?
COVID. Yeah, it's called
COVID.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Not Corona, the beer, but
exactly. It put the brakes on all events all over the world. Stop, dead. Yeah. And I was trying to stay in my lane of events, hospitality, travel, and tourism. So those 4 sectors all stopped. Mm-hmm. I thought, whoa. So my business partner at that time, Stefan, he said, I don't want to do this anymore. I said, well, I'm going to try and keep it going. So I tried to keep it going, and I couldn't do it. I could only get about 60 people to attend, registered to attend. So I had to cancel it. And then I decided to try it again in 2022. I had to cancel it. I tried it again in 2023. And I had a fairly successful event in March. So I thought, let's try a fall one to keep the momentum going.
Yeah.
So I scheduled one for September, and I didn't have anybody show up. It was horrible. So that hurt. You get egg on your face, and it ruins your reputation. So I thought, you know what? I don't want to do this event stuff anymore. So I decided to kind of throw in the towel in the events. And now where I'm at is I'm helping other people with their events. And instead of me producing them, because it's too saturated. There's too many events. Yeah. They're everywhere. So that's where I'm at now today.
Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. So I'm going to tease that apart a little bit. Lots of stuff I didn't know, and I've known you for a while, but wow, lots of stuff. That's really cool. So if I look at this live into your best life concept, right? And I tell people live into your best life instead of live your best life. Because when we say live our best life, it's like there's nothing better. But if we're continuously looking at how can we help create better for ourselves and the people around us, right? And your story tells that. Your story tells how when things weren't working, you let go. When you needed to take care of your health, you let go. And I love that. You pivoted. You didn't let challenges get in your way. You learned from them, figured out, what do I want to do next? And then you created, it's like you come up with solutions to these challenges, right? These problems. And you just kind of hit them head on. And then, and one thing I love is that you did this thing, it didn't work. You did this thing, you got some, oh, hey, that was pretty good. Let's do the momentum thing. It didn't work. Okay. Don't continue if it's not working, right? Because it's kind of like, here's your sign. It's time to pivot. Dropping the cards and going up to Monica, and it's time to pivot, right? That was your body saying enough is enough, new path. And I love how you, from the very beginning, you've created your own path. And while people told you to get a job, and back in the 70s and 80s, it wasn't commonplace to go to college. In my world, only the rich kids got to go to college. And someone decided if they were, even if your family had the money, someone decided if you were going to be a good candidate or if you should stay on the farm, type of thing. So that's how I grew up. And so trade school was my route. And I went to school for business. And ironically, I still work with businesses, but you were told, get a job. You got a job. You did exactly what an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid would love to do. You were outside, you were hanging in the parks, you were mowing lawns, you were doing the thing. And I'm thinking to myself, how could that go away? Because they still need their lawns mowed, right? Like when you said that, I'm like, but they still need their lawns mowed. So, it's just kind of interesting how the world has thrown you, or the universe, whatever, has thrown you these curveballs, and then you just pivot and you make things happen. And I'm curious a little bit. You went to California to live in a sleeping bag. And what did you do? I mean, I'm from California. We go back there often. So how did you pull yourself out of that? I'm going to call it a funk, because you had to go through and process and heal a lot of yucky stuff that happened. So how did you work your way through that?
Well, there was a friend of mine that I got a martial arts background. So part of my persistence is you can't fail if you don't quit. When you go for your black belt, you got to go for your black belt. You got to keep on going. You can't quit. When you fall down, you get back up.
Right.
So this friend of mine, he had started a martial arts school down there, and he had this idea of kind of creating like how the UFC is now, but it was more point fighting rather than full contact. And adding theatrical to it. So he knew I was in events and he wanted me to work with him, but I kept saying, I got a business to run up here. I got a business to run up here. So when the business was gone, I said, I'm coming out.
Yeah, no more excuse.
I slept out in the karate school floor with my sleeping bag and my magic tricks and my computer in the back seat. I just drove out there and helped him with that for a year. And then another opportunity came in. A magician friend of mine that lives out in Studio City, he's a magician actor, more actor than magician. He had this idea to do a magic infomercial. So him and I created this thing called Jaw Droppers. It was a series of VHS tapes of how to do magic tricks. And when that project was over, it was like, okay, now what am I going to do? Because there's all sorts of other magicians out there, and jugglers and ventriloquists and dancers and singers and waiters and waitresses. Exactly. And I didn't want to do that. So I knew I didn't want to stay out there. And my brother said my sister was ill. So I said, okay, I'm getting in the car tomorrow. So I told the guy that was renting me a guest house, I said, keep the deposit. I'm leaving in the morning. So I jumped in the car and buzzed back to Minneapolis. So what was your initial question?
I just love that. I was curious, what you weren't homeless. I couldn't imagine you in that stereotypical, like when I think homeless in California, I think of someone who has their sleeping bag rolled up in a shopping cart with all the things, and I could never imagine you being homeless, because when you were 4, your entrepreneurial side just kicked into gear with that order coming out of your ear.
Another little entrepreneurial story. When I was a kid, I was doing magic shows in the garage, charging the kids $0.25, and we make Kool-Aid and popcorn and sell them.
I love that. You had your own garage theater.
Yes, or if we wanted, we did Super 8 movies and played like I was a teenage werewolf and Frankenstein on those. Remember those?
Yep.
So I was entrepreneurial. Even when I was a kid, I was doing that kind of thing. I would buy candy at wholesale and resell it to my students, friends at school. So I've always been kind of entrepreneurial. And when I went out to California, rather than being homeless, I went out there when it was like the Y2K kind of situation. It was 1998. So I was thinking about that trauma situation that might happen. So I remember picking leaves off of trees and tasting them to see if they're bitter or not, if they're poisonous or they might be food. Yeah. So I had it in my head. So I always think forward, sometimes too far. When I'm explaining a project to somebody, it's hard for me to bridge the gap.
Or to help them get there, right?
I show them the vision. They go, I'm not jumping on over that chasm.
Right.
Why? Yeah. It's easy.
Yep. Well, and I think so. The model I use is, where are you? Where do you want to be? Now let's figure out how to close that gap, right? Which is what you do. And I think we have a lot of similarities, because I've always been anywhere from 6 months to 6 years ahead of the curve. Yep. And I create models that people are like, what? And then they finally catch up and realize. And so having that gift can also be a little bit of a curse sometimes. And so how do you help people chunk it down so that you can meet them where they're at, and you can help them get where they could be, see the possibilities?
I try and use analogies. So like an analogy, if you got this vision that's out there too far, you let them know that, yes, it's out there too far, but look, there's a bridge here with stepping stones. We don't have to go to the third step. Let's just go to the first step. Yep. Break it down and use an analogy, because then they can see it better.
Yep.
Like I'll use car analogies and things of, whatever analogy, because the person can grasp that situation. Oh, yes, it is far out there, but all I have to do is go step by step by step by step. And it's life. It's not a straight shot. It's more like a sailboat. The wind's going to change. So those steps, it might be off to the right. Just be ready for it. And it might move too. So be careful as you're going through. So that's the way I like to do it as far as bridging that gap. And I had another thought and I forgot what it was, but to me, it's leveraging this technology. It's automate and delegate. Because for me, a lot of this is saving time. We've all got 24 hours in a day. It's how do you use each one of those hours? And if you can automate things and delegate things, and another example of how my brain works is, there's this platform that people can use called If This, Then That. If something happens, then do this. And I've got it hooked up with the Weather Underground website, because the sun's going to rise, the sun's going to set, there's going to be clouds over the sun, and the clouds are going to go away. So you can schedule this thing so when it gets cloudy, do this. And the sun comes out, do that. So now you're feeding the system, instead of having the regular repetition thing that the platforms will not like, because, you got that set on automatic. We don't want that automatic stuff. We want people.
Yeah.
I'm tricking them by using the weather.
Cool. That's fun. I would have never thought. That's very cool. So in your bio, you've got a lot of really impressive companies that you've worked with. Now, you help salespeople, and you help companies with their sales. How does that work?
Well, again, it's kind of like algebra. It's like, who is your ideal client? Like sometimes if you go to like a horizontal market networking event, which consists of coaches and real estate people and MLMers and somebody that has a job, they're a financial planner. Is that your ideal client?
Right.
How are you going to find those people?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a better way of doing it. Like I did when I was booking Magic, my ideal client was an event planner, primarily a corporate event planner. So there's an organization called Meeting Professionals International that consists of all the corporate event planners from Target, Medtronic, Cargill, General Mills, Pillsbury, International Dairy Queen, Land O'Lakes, 3M.
Nice. Yeah.
Now they all come to this event to me, or we would plan an event planner's cruise and get them on the lake for 2 hours. And now I'm there with them for 2 hours building that relationship because that's what's really important.
Yes.
Like I was at another networking thing, and there was a guy that was a landscaper and he did snow removal. He was looking for people that had apartment complexes and strip malls and things like that to do the commercial snow removal because there's bigger money there.
Yep.
So he's looking for building owners and building managers. So he'd go to these networking events and ask for referrals. And then people say, yeah, I know a guy that's the hard way to do it. The easier way is there's an organization called BOMA, which is Building Owners Managers Association. There's a chapter in Minneapolis, there's a chapter in St. Paul. Go hang out with them. They're the people that own the buildings or manage the buildings. They're the ones that can sign the check.
That's right.
It's easier. Instead of taking that vision is out there and taking all these steps of, I'm going to go to a networking event every week.
Yeah.
Wow. If you do, go to a BOMA event because that's where all your money is.
That's where all the people are. Yeah. All right. So how did you learn or how do you figure out these organizations like BOMA? How do you figure out what they are and how to find the people?
That's a great question. There's an organization called ASAE, which is the American Society of Association Executives. There are chapters in other states. There used to be a Midwest chapter and a Minnesota chapter, but now they've kind of come together, and it's called Associations North. So what ASAE is it's an association of associations which consist of companies that have employees. So you can go to this association of association, and if you want to meet people that grow turkeys, you go to the Turkey Growers Federation. Or if you want to, the Minnesota Dairy Association, or the Soybean Processors of Minnesota, or you just find out what this is. Now with the internet, you don't need ASAE. You can just type in Building Owner Manager Association, and there it is. If you want to meet real estate agents, there's the Minnesota Real Estate Association. There's all these groups of people in these verticals. There's the Minnesota Real Estate Investors Association.
Very
so
cool.
depending on what you're looking for, there's an association. Go buddy up with those people and be their friend and go golf with them and play tennis and hang out and have cocktails and woozy and create a relationship.
So I could see how getting clarity on which association may have your ideal client could be beneficial if you're in sales. It could be beneficial if you're a coach. It could be beneficial if you're looking for a job.
Well, on that note, if you're a coach, a lot of people say, well, everybody needs a coach. You got to niche it down because then you know where you're going.
Exactly.
And let's just start with people that love cats. And let's coach people that love cats. Now you know how to find them. You go work with Petco and say, we're going to do a workshop on how to make your life better with your kitty cat. And then Petco is going to pay you to come there and do a workshop on how to have a better life with a kitty cat. And now you got all these people that love kitty cats and they need help. And when you're done with the kitty cats, let's do dogs. Then we'll do equestrian. And then we will do motorcycles and find all these pillars. Yep. But trying to say, I can do anything for everybody, then you don't know who to go to.
That's right.
You know, if you're going to go to the grocery store because you need eggs and you end up going to the liquor store, that's not going to be a good breakfast.
Well, it depends. Yes,
you need
indeed.
to get clear on who your ideal client is. Like
That's
a quick story, I had a photographer friend, and he did the glamour photography. He did portraiture. He did nature. He did all sorts of stuff. Then he decided to focus on Hmong weddings. And you know, in St. Paul here, there's a huge Hmong community.
Huge, yeah.
He loves the Hmong community. So he goes and he sponsors their New Year's celebration, and he's there and he's known as the Hmong wedding photographer. So if
Nice.
anybody's wondering, hey, you getting married? Go talk to Alan Forrest. He'll do it. He's the Hmong
Nice.
wedding photographer. Yes, he would do family portraiture or do the pet or do senior graduations, but his focus was the Hmong wedding photographer. So everybody knew. And that's part of my problem is I don't focus. Everybody thinks I'm a magician or they think I'm an event guy because I do a lot of different stuff.
Yep.
It's hard to stay focused.
Well, and you help so many people. So, that's one of your gifts is kind of helping paint a path that maybe some people couldn't see before.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And so lately I've been doing a lot of helping folks with their careers and up-leveling or finding their next job, that type of thing. And you just gave me an idea. It's like, you know what you want to do, or you know what you've done and you're really good at, but something that you said was a really important key for me is, what industry do you want to work in? Mm-hmm. Or what company would you really like to work for? Because then you can hone in on, who do I know on social media that works for that company, who might be able to open the door for me? Because the way that you get a job nowadays, just like because of technology and the lockdown, all the different things that have happened in society, things are so different now than they were back in the 90s. And sure, we have to do things differently. And we have to, it's almost like there's so many options. We have to figure out how to focus.
You have to focus. It's very important. Otherwise you sin. You miss the mark.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
There's a story of a guy, he was looking to work at a specific company. So what he did was he went on, I think he used Facebook for this, where you could use LinkedIn, but he narrowed it down to people that work for that company. And that's who he advertised a video to and says, hi, my name is Steve. I'm looking for a job at Acme Corporation. And if anybody out there knows anybody that might have work, so he did a video ad asking for work. And where was he targeting? Everybody that worked at that company.
Yep.
Perfect.
Nice. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Very cool. Great ideas. All right. So if you were to look back over all the years, what are the 3 most memorable experiences in your life that helped create Magic Brad?
When I was very young, 4 years old, that guy made a cord disappear and pulled it out of my ear.
Yeah.
Still remember that. In my old house, we didn't have a basement or nothing. It was just on a concrete slab by the door. I remember there's a friend of my brother's. We used to call him Billy Ha. I don't know why. He made that thing disappear, and I remember that. Another experience I think would be doing the expo thing. This friend of mine, Ron Eccles, we used to office at International Market Square, which was at the 2nd floor. We did the expo on the 3rd floor, and we had the office on the 2nd floor. But he taught me about how to do this trade show stuff and find your ideal client, and by asking questions. He called them Emerson's 6 friends.
Oh.
Who, what, when, how, and why. So when you ask people that question at a trade show, that qualifies that person, because you don't want to sit in your booth and talk to everybody and hand out brochures.
Right.
You want to take information in and you say something like, so are you the person that plans events for your company? If they say no, let them move on. Don't waste time. Find the person that does. So how many events do you plan per year? They tell you how many things. So what was the budget? What's the biggest budget you ever had for an event? Now you know how much money they got.
Right.
When's your next event? When you ask the questions, you get the right answer.
Yeah.
I think that was working with him over that span. I don't remember how long we did it. 1995 to 1998 or something like that. 92, I don't know. But working with him was very, very memorable. I learned a lot from him.
That's
and
cool.
Then the other thing was, you'd mentioned earlier when we were in the green room about a book, The Laws. Deepak Chopra wrote a book the seven laws of the 7 spiritual laws of success.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That book I read about 3-4 times because it's thin.
Yep.
It's written perfect for me. It says what the law is, how does it work, and this is the more details. Perfect format. I just zipped through it and gobbled it up. So I use a lot of those things, like the law of least effort. Water doesn't try to flow; it just flows. Grass doesn't try to grow; it just grows. Mm-hmm. And if you have to force something, you're probably doing the wrong thing. Water just goes up against a rock and sits there until it can go around it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't try to.
Yeah, doesn't force. Yeah.
Those are some things that.
Nice. Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. How do people get a hold of you if they want to work with you?
That's a fun question too. Just Google the keyword Magic Brad and you'll find the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah, you'll basically just Google Magic Brad and any keyword you want, like yoga or retreat or magic, and you'll find something that I've got. Right now I have 50 different domain names on multiple websites, and I just blog and put stuff out on the internet because again, the internet is just links and words, right?
Right.
It really is. Words that are connected to other words. So I just put a lot of words to create more internet real estate. And that's how you find me. Just Google the keyword Magic Brad. If you'll probably find me, or there's another young kid that's got Magic Brad, and then there's a Brad that's down in Florida that does magic. But you'll find me.
Very cool. Awesome. Fantastic. Any last words for the listeners?
You can't fail if you don't quit.
You can't fail if you don't quit. I love that. Very cool. Brad, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And it's been so much fun getting to know you at a different level because it's like, yeah, I mean, Monica and I, we could sit and talk for hours and don't even realize how much time goes past. And I'm guessing you and I haven't had much time because her and I do that, but we could probably do the same. So thank you very much.
It is. You don't cover a lot at a networking event. It's all surfacey kind of stuff. When you get into a little more time and different ideas come in, and it's amazing what I don't know.
The conversation. It's amazing what a conversation can do.
Very deep stuff.
Indeed. All right, listeners, thank you so much for tuning in today. If you like the show, please share some love, give us a 5-star rating, and share it with your friends. Spread the word, and then also subscribe so that you get every weekly episode in your inbox or it pops up on your device of choice. Apple is the #1 podcasting tool right now, but I'm on Spotify and all the things. So please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know what would you like to hear about next, because I love helping people get from where they are to where they want to be. Also, reach out to me if you're interested in being interviewed on the show, like I just shared Brad's story, or Brad shared Brad's story. Reach out to me, let me know so that we can get you some exposure as well. In the meantime, enjoy the journey and live every day as you live into your best life. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Paulie Skaja, your show host for Live Into Your Best Life. Check out the show notes and visit her at paulieskaya.com to learn more and continue your journey. Until next week, enjoy the adventure.